Hi everyone! Today we're going to do a tutorial again from Silhouette Life Inspiration Box. The October box theme again is Hocus Pocus. So today's tutorial is for the Halloween bandana with Easyweed Glow. So the materials from your box that you're going to need is the seamless bandana that came in it. You can buy these at anypromo.com. She has the link posted in the group if you want to buy more of these. So you'll need that, and then you'll need the Easyweed Glow sheet of glow-in-the-dark heat transfer vinyl from Expressions Vinyl. So these two things are really all you need, and then you'll need a measuring tape of some sort to measure how big the design needs to be. So again, how I got to the tutorial, you'll go into the Facebook page, Silhouette Life Inspiration Box - members only. You'll go into photos, click on albums, click on the October box, and then click on the picture for the bandana. This will either take you to the PDF file for it, or you can go into the Google Drive and download it from there. So, starting off in the tutorial, the hardest part, she says, is determining the size of your design. So, to start off, I'm going to go ahead. She gives you a suggestion, but I'm going to measure mine and see where it kind of ends up. She says she measured her face and then add a few inches. So, the design, let me show you the design cut file she gave us. Again, you just click on it and download it into your program. Then you have it for any future projects. You own the design now, personal use, and it comes in your box. So the design we are looking at right now are these two Halloween faces. So she includes the girl version and the guy version, so that whoever you're making these for will have the design that fits them. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my face. Let's see, for the mask and the mouth, I'd say that's about right. And that puts me right at about 8 inches. If that's the look of the design that I'm wanting, which I want it to go a little bit farther on my face. So that is kind of right about where I want to be. She said when she measured hers, she did about 6 inches, and that fit more of like her toddler's face. And so she would suggest for any face going 7.5 to 8 inches wide, and for any adult size face. So that's kind of what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with 8. And see how that works best on my bandana. So I've got the design in my studio, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to get rid of the male skull because I do not want to cut that one right now. So then I've got the female skull, and it's 6 inches wide right now. If you go up here to the top, you can change it to 8, and it will scale. This one kept it the same. So then what you'll want to do is you'll want to lock it right there. So I'm going to go back so I can show you what that does. So it's locked now, so whatever I put in here will change the other proportion. So see how that number now went up to 6.6. So now that shows you the accurate design for 8 inches wide, which is what I measured, and still keeping the design proportionately how it was supposed to. So then, now that you have that all designed, what you're going to do is you go back to the tutorial. And in the tutorial, she talks about how this heat transfer vinyl, the Easyweed, works really well with the smooth heat transfer vinyl setting. So your blade will need to be at 2, speed at 8, thickness at 4. That will cut just fine through your HDV. Remember, again, you do cut on the non-shiny side. I don't know if you can tell in the video. So this is the shiny side. We want the non-shiny side. That's the side you're going to be cutting, and making sure that it's all set up there. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you, mirror it. So it doesn't matter much in this design because it looks basically the same. Let me show you. So this, I'm going to go back. I'd already mirrored it. So this is the design she had. And then if you mirror it, which I'm going to go up to normally right here, object, mirror, flip horizontally, it doesn't change your design very much in this one. Normally it is a very crucial part of heat transfer vinyl. I like to do it on every design, so I'm in the habit. Even though it didn't change it much, I would hate to start going off of just whether or not I think it changes it, and then I forget. I've ruined whole designs by not mirroring it before, and that is the worst. So now that it is set up so that I know it's going to cut correctly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it loaded onto my cut mat, and then I'll show you with the settings on my computer hooked up to my machine, and we will get it cutting. Okay, So now I have it loaded here into my design studio. I went up to send. I made sure that the settings were on heat transfer smooth. I made sure that it updated to what she said in the tutorial. So 2, 8, and 4 for the thickness and the speed. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a test cut. It should work just fine right here at the top. So I'm just going to click test cut right here. And then my machine is going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay, so now that that's cut out, I weeded around the triangle with the test cut. How you know if it's successful with heat transfer vinyl is if you can pull it off the back, but it doesn't cut through your backing. So see how that's still just one piece, and it didn't cut through back here. That way you know you'll be able to press it, it'll work just fine, your settings are good to go. So now I'm going to load it back in, and then we'll get it set up to cut out the whole design. Okay, so now the design is still ready. All the red lines show where it's going to cut. My mat is loaded. I did the test cut. You are all set to make sure that this design is, well, you're all set. This design is good to go. So now you'll be able to come over here to send in the bottom right. My machine is connected to my laptop, so I'm good to go. I'm going to click send. Now it's thinking, and it's going to cut out this design. Once it's cut out, I'll show you how to weed it, and then we'll go on to the next part. Okay, so now my design is all cut out. You can't really see it here, but I just cut out around the design so that way you can save the rest of the heat transfer vinyl, use it for another project. Sometimes I'll go really intricate and just go right around it, but since I did a test cut, there wasn't really a lot of usable material right here anymore for me to want to keep it. So I have this ready now, and I have my weeding tools. I use a dentist pick. My grandpa is a dentist, so he gave me some of them. So I use that. You can find a lot of tools like this. Sometimes people find them at like Home Depot or stores like that. Just find something that's sharp and pointy. I didn't love Silhouette's brand one. I just didn't feel like it was pointy enough, and so I didn't feel like I had a lot of luck with it. I also love these nail polish holders as to use while I'm weeding. I just stick it on my fingers, and then any little designs I can just stick in there and it gets rid of them for me. So those are kind of my go-to. I always also make sure I have scissors next to me. That way I can cut off excess vinyl. It doesn't stick to itself. Now that's not really a problem for heat transfer vinyl. It's more for adhesive vinyl, but I still like to have it around just in case it's getting in my way or I'm having a hard time with it. The other thing I like to do is I like to make sure I have the design pulled up on my computer so that I can make sure that I'm looking at it. I know where to weed, especially with some of these more intricate ones. That way you're not missing something and cutting into part of the design. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start weeding this. I'm going to start the process with you, and then I'll show you when it's done. It does tend to be really easy to weed Easyweed vinyl, hence the name. But I still like to be careful when I'm starting out just in case something happened with it. So like as you can see, I can just peel it and it's following the outer edge of that cut. Now I have a light box as well, so normally that's what I use to see the designs, but I also can hold it up to the light. You can't really see in the video, but that's also how I like to see different things. So now you can see I pulled a little bit too quickly. Do you see that little piece right here that's trying to come off? It's because that was a swirly and I was not paying attention. So now I'm just gonna, heat transfer vinyl is a little bit more forgiving. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to salvage it. Hopefully it cut through and it's not something with that and just that I pulled too quickly. So let's see if I can, give me 1 second and I'll pull this off, and then I can show you guys what it's supposed to look like, so when you're weeding yours you can make sure to catch that. I also apologize for the sniffles. I am sick right now and that's the worst. So it's gonna take me a little bit to play around with this. So what I'm gonna do, and again I just go really carefully. Heat transfer vinyl is a little bit more forgiving because it's not the adhesive yet. And so right now I'm using my fingernails because I feel like I can get into it a little bit better, holding on to the other section as well. So let's see. I'm wanting to get this done while you guys are still on this part of the clip. Let's see. So you can actually see what the real process is like. We're close. I should have been paying attention. So when you're weeding these, make sure you're focusing on your design and not something else, because otherwise it causes problems. Okay, so, oh, we're close. Okay, so now you can see this is one of those scenarios where I'm going to use my scissors and cut away this other stuff so I don't get confused. So I'm just gonna snip on the edge and then back on where I started. Wait, it's not in the way. So now, as you can see, this design is all curly. So the back heat transfer vinyl isn't super sticky, but it is enough to be able to reposition that swirly where it was intended. I can also see where my machine cut it, and so that helps me put it back into place too. So that's not perfect. I'll fix it when I'm finished with weeding it all, but that's what we're gonna do. I'll show you when it's all done. One thing I did forget to mention, I'm still getting through the design, so you can see kind of part of the weeding process. It's going well. One thing I did forget to mention is when you're sizing your design in your studio, make sure that the sheet of vinyl you have matches where your design is sitting. So in the package she gave us, she sized it already so that it was a 12 by 10. See how there's the 2 blocks down there? And that's what it fit as on my mat. But if you were using your own sheet of vinyl or your own design, make sure that you are matching up where your vinyl is sitting with where your design is sitting, so you don't cut into your mat or cutting out of it or ruining half a sheet of vinyl because it didn't line up right. So make sure you're doing that. We're getting close. We just have the teeth and the rest of the top part to weed, and then we'll be ready to use. I have an iron. I don't have a heat press, so I'll show you how to use an iron on the bandana. Okay, so my design is ready to go. It's laid down on the bandana. I left a pretty small gap. She suggests a little bit more because the edge will curl down, but I kind of liked that look, and so I'm going to test it and show you what it looks like if you do it at the top. Then I'm going to put my Teflon sheet over it. If you have a heat press, she did about 320 for 15 to 20 seconds. So I'm just going to press with my iron for about 15 seconds at a time on each section. Make sure I get all of it good, adhered well. Make sure you have enough pressure if you're using a household iron. And just hold it there for, normally I do a little bit less than the heat press timing. So I'm going to do about 10 seconds right now. There we go. And then I'm going to lift up and do the next section. And press down for about 10 seconds there. And then we'll go ahead and pull it off the cover sheet and see if it's adhered. I kind of play with the trial and error when I do heat press with an iron, just because sometimes it gets those little dots on the iron, the circles on the bottom, so it doesn't get the heat there. There's a lot of things that you kind of have to play with an iron. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Oh, those little holes, those don't have the heat coming out of them, so it's a little bit harder to get an even press, so I like to play with it. So now I'm going to gently, because it's very hot. Ooh, see how nice that pulls up? Oh, that is beautiful heat transfer vinyl. Now, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be holding my design a little bit more just in case it wasn't stuck all the way. But since I'm holding a video, we're not going to do that. So now it's very hot, but as you can see, it adhered beautifully. I'm just going to go over really quickly on this corner because I saw it peeling just a little. The nice thing too is you can always just press again. Just be careful not to melt it, not to over press it or get it too hot. So I'm just going to do a couple presses here and there, get most of it good to go. My iron is too hot. So now unplug the iron, take this sheet off, sticks a little bit to it. Okay, now you have this. I'm going to go ahead and let that cool off because it's a little bit too hot for me to want to put on my face, and then I will put it on and show you what it looks like. Okay, so here you can see it with the mask on. Here's what I was talking about with it curling down. See how it's kind of covering the top of my mouth, of the nose on this design? So I would probably position yours a little bit lower than I did mine, so any of that cover up isn't covering up your design. And there you go, that's what it looks like on an adult.